everybody, happy Friday. Tony here with Rebel Financial. Today, for my financial planning topic, I'm going to make this relatively short, but I'm going to go over a pay stub. As we head into the new year, I want people, I'm always hoping, that they at least look over their pay stub, periodically, just to make sure everything on there is right and they have a good understanding of it. Before I get too far into this, a couple of public announcements. So I know we're all supposed to be staying home for coronavirus, but I do want to say that my daughter turned 16 today, and she got her driver's license. So if you didn't have reason enough to stay home, that should encourage you. Also, aside from her birthday, my stepson Nathan in Chicago, his 23rd birthday too. So anyway, a shout out to them. So, and then one more thing, as I go over this, I had to reach out to our payroll company, Strategic Payroll Solutions, to get the help on this, right? I had to have a generic pay stub, so they built that out for me. Really good payroll company, so if you ever have any need for that, you can let us know or just look up Strategic Payroll Solutions, and Brad and Michelle and Jennifer, they do a great job, so you could always go there. So anyway, Alex, if we could zoom in on the camera, on the screen here. I'm just going to go over this real quick, and I want people to think about what they're looking for. So as you look here at the top of this, basically you're going to see some generic things. Your Social Security, what employer number you are, and those things. But an important one to look at is the payroll, and what you're doing. And then pay type will be, hourly or salary. But even if your salary, oftentimes they'll break it down to what your hourly wage would be, okay? I am surprised often at how many people don't know exactly how much they're paid. I know they have a ballpark, but that's why it's worth, checking this now and then, because what if you get like a 2% raise? You want to make sure, because somebody had to go and input that into the system, right? And no matter what position somebody is in, nobody is perfect. So it is incumbent on you to watch over your things and to kind of do that check. So the first thing we're looking at here on the left under earnings, of course, this is pretty straightforward, right? This person makes $13.75 an hour. Truly, they might just make $27,000 or $28,000 annually, and it could be broken into that. And then, of course, you're going to see your dollars and your year-to-date hours, and then your year-to-date dollars as well, okay? And on this side of things, what you're seeing is below that, the 401k match that comes from the company. So since that's coming right out of their pocket, they put it here. But also there was some paid days off, the PDO here, that might be in here as well. So companies handle that different ways, but if you do get extra for days you didn't take and things like that, that's going to count towards your pay, okay? And then if I scroll down a little bit, you would see that total pay of $7,000. So that works out nice in this sample. So let me explain to you, you have all these other things like the Social Security from the employee and Medicare from the employee. Basically, when you're doing your Social Security, you owe 6.2% of your salary, and your employer owes 6.2% as well to the government for that, okay? If you're self-employed, you pay both ends of that, okay? So you pay that 6.2% until you make about, this year, almost $138,000. Once you hit 138, that stops being paid. It's not taken out of your paycheck anymore, okay? Medicare is a little different. You pay 1.45% as well, again, as your employer. So they pay that as much. So one is funding Social Security, one is funding Medicare, okay? So just so you know what those are for and what they're going into. Your federal withholding. What I want people to be cognizant of, and this is, people don't always understand taxes, but there's no, when you sit down with a tax preparer, there's no magical formula. Basically, when all is said and done, based on how much you made and your exemptions and deductions, you owe a certain amount of money. And against what you owe, how much do you actually pay the government? And most people pay the government throughout the year through withholdings. So the more withholdings that you have taken out of your paycheck, the more likely you are that you're going to not owe anything or even get money back. So it's not as if there's a magical formula when your tax is being prepared, it has to do with how much you had withheld. Now, other people make estimated payments and things like that. But my point is that you can go back, after a month or two, if last year, for instance, you owed the final bill was $10,000, but you had only put 6 in, so now you owe 4. So you go back to Human Resource and say, please take more out of my paycheck. This is a way to come and check it. Look at your federal income tax, see how much has been taken up until that point in time in the year. If it's after February 1st, how much was taken out from that first month, multiply it by 12, and see if that gets you closer to what you owed from the previous year, based on any kind of small adjustments you might have. The other thing that you're going to see, of course, is the state taxes withheld. So the same process, just make sure that's doing right. It is a much simpler formula, but you need to be cognizant of that. I see more and more how people either work in multiple states or they live in one and work in another. So just make sure, especially when you start a new job, that that's being done correctly. Because I see a lot of people who start a new job in February and they're not paying any attention to this, and then come the end of the year and we do their taxes and they're way behind on something, or they didn't know they owed something, okay? So, and if you're not sure, you can always call me. And then the last one would be the locality, right? And so that in central Ohio, in Ohio for the most part, is can be the trickiest one. So really what you do often is you owe where you live, and then you also owe where you work, okay? And if there are differences, you may have, then one's got to pay the other and that sort of thing. But the other is, if you work in different cities, you might have to take that into consideration. Local taxes can be the most complicated on who you owe. It is really straightforward on what you owe because you don't get deductions. But where the money's supposed to go, and if you overpay, where you're going to get it back from, that could be a pain in the butt. So the last thing over here that you're going to see, these are the deductions. So you might be paying dental or medical or putting money into the 401k. So they're a running total from the current paycheck into the total for the year. All right. So you want to make sure that's being taken care of. The other thing is, when you're looking at this, there are other benefits that you might be paying for. Short-term disability, so you'll see SDI, LDI, long-term disability. You'll see a number of things on there, and you just want to make sure that you're not paying for more than the benefits you're getting, which again, human input, humans make mistakes, and once it's done, no one's going to notice it but you, in all likelihood, unless it's over a group of people, in which case they might catch something like that. So it is incumbent on you to go over your paycheck and to just make sure everything's right. I suggest that you do it, at the end of an even period, like at the end of January, or better yet, the end of December, and see where things are going, and make sure what they've done for the previous year isn't right. And if it's not, start working into the new year. So that's it. I hope that's helpful. Any questions, of course, you can always call me. But otherwise, next week we'll be back talking about A Promised Land, Barack Obama's book, the audio book, a long book, about halfway through it now. So other than that, have a great, what do we have, 2 weeks from today is Christmas, 3 weeks from today is New Year's, so we'll be in the new year before you know it. 2020 will be past us, probably a good thing for most people, right? But anyway, it was great seeing you, and we'll see you again next week, okay? Have a great week.